Today I'm going to share with you the part 2 version of how can ChatGPT assist you in coding for Unity. My name is Dominique Wu, founder of X-Reality Academy. Just a recap. So previously we were talking about helping kids in hospital, help them to ease their anxiety. So those are the goals. We want to ease the anxiety, help kids stretch, and then by creating a VR immersive game to help them to have a better experience. Those are the previous research. So we pretty much kind of played the game and take a look at what's the current industry do. And we find out those types of things are helping kids to, can help kids to have some adventures, distract them from getting medications, and also have fun engagement and help them to kind of stretch. So those are kind of interesting game. And then we want to have both kind of stretch, mental peace and relaxation, and also have some little adventures to keep them engaged. So we came up with some ideas which kids need to get through a forest and collecting some, for example, like flowers. And then when there are some enemies, we were thinking about using toys or stuffing toys to be like the villain. So it won't be too scary for kids. Yeah, so for example, like at the beginning, we will have an intro kind of like a screens, and then kids will get through the forest and then using whatever they collect and throw to enemies. So those are just rough ideas, and yeah, and you can take a look. Our team, we came up with some ideas that is very innovative. And then after brainstorming some possible ideas, then we will start doing some brainstorm UI system. So those are something that our team kind of came up with some very cool ideas, and I personally really like Archeo's UI. It's really complicated, but it's also very organized, and it has a wheel in the center. And when you kind of interact with different UI sections, and it will come up with a panel. I find out this is very useful and very clean. And then those are some of my doodling sketch about how this panel will show. So I was thinking about top will be profile. The left part maybe food or health boost, right? And then flowers, which may be something collectible. And then once you collect it, the inventory will again, the number will increase. And then settings, for example, like either people want to do teleport or locomotion, or one hand, two hands, because sometimes kids, another hand will doing some other, medication. So they only have one hand. So those are some basic structure and also profile, right? For example, like what's the score, what's the health, what's the level related to the player. Okay, so those are our team. We came up with some UI design. So we have original stay, Hoover stay, and close stay. And also when you click, what other panel will show up. So those are kind of like the another level of the UI. Okay, so those are something that we were thinking about. Maybe this can be the center UI, and then when you press, I don't know, a button or do some gestures, and this UI, the core UI will show up and then correspond with different panels. So yeah, if you want to learn more about design, research, and thinking part, yeah, and also the entire tutorial. If you are interested, feel free to join us. We are Extra Academy. We are doing problem solving, design driven, and subscription based. And also you will have one-on-one mentorship. So yeah, feel free to sign up our newsletter. I will provide the sign up link on the chat. Okay, so what you will learn today is something like this. This is something that I recorded probably a few days ago. And I was testing out the distance of the UI, and then also collecting some flowers and see like the number is changing. Later on, those numbers, it either can put inside, the inventory or somewhere that people can see. I don't know. Still figure it out. Usually when working on something, start from 0 to 1. At the beginning, we do some exploration, and later on we start forming things together.
Hey, Facebook.
And then, those are kind of the sound that I use the Facebook assistant. So I use recording, kind of like the voice active to record and stop recording inside PR. So this is something that I was doing the testing, learning, and next one. This one was something that we are going to build today. It's kind of very similar, and then it's like something that I could create real quick, and also create some prefab from the previous experiment. So you can see pretty much the same thing. It's very bare bone, minimum, like the last one. So this is something that we are going to create today. Okay. And then yesterday, I just released the open source project. Yeah, this one. Project Flower Bed, a web XR study, case study. So, yeah, when I saw this news, the blog, the post, you can see, when I see this, I was like, wow, this is something that kind of very similar to what we are doing. It's like, oh, you are, creating, or you are growing your flowers and you take photos and share with your friends. And it's very soothing and very, relaxing. And I find out there are a lot of assets that we can use. So it just released right after I finished the kind of the demo for today. So yeah, so I will definitely dive into the open source, the GitHub files, and maybe inspire or take some of the cool, scripts, and then I can, customize it and make, integrate with the current game. Yeah, I really like the design, and it seems like very easy to use, very intuitive, right? The experience looks very good. So I cannot wait to just dive in and take a look of how I can, inspire or get some inspirations, get some scripts from this open source. Yeah, and I like how they use, traditional camera to kind of just using physical object instead of, a big UI trying to explain things. So I really like the intuitive way of doing things. Okay. Yeah, I will integrate it into our VR game for the next workshop. So, okay, so when I was working on it, it was a blank screen and with some, some sketches that we came up with. And then, yeah, so I started breaking down what types of stuff that I need to do. For example, like I want to grow flowers, so individual flowers need to be grown, right? Like one flowers. And also I want a lot of flowers grow randomly. So I have another flower script that kind of grow randomly. And then the other one is that once I grab it, I want that flower kind of being disappeared, and then the inventory, there's number increase. So there are kind of 2 to 3 parts of it. So I start asking ChatGPT, like, hey, you are a Unity developer now. Yeah, I kind of like tell it that I will make a prefab, and please create unlimited flower prefab random spawning scripts that allows unlimited flower prefab to spawn in the random location every 10 seconds, which means that I will give you one flower prefab and you will spawn the flower prefab every 10 seconds in random location on the floor. Yeah, as long as the game is going, the flower keep randomly growing every 10 seconds. Something like that. I know I have a lot of redundant words, but just want to be really specific about it so I won't get the wrong script. So here's something that ChatGPT came up with. It's very, I would say, detailed, and also it also commented for me. And those are really good starting point, because when I put on the script and attach, and put the flower for the spawner, I need to attach to an empty object. I usually call it manager. So it's kind of something that in a really high level. So I put that, and it actually works. And while true, right? If I do while and it's always true, and it will just keep spawning. So I think the solution is pretty good. And after, it wrote the entire script, it also tell me like, oh, to use this script, simply attach to an empty get object in your scene and drag flower prefab. You see, it just tell you what to do. So it's very sweet. Once you put a description, very detailed, they will give you an entire script, and it's very sweet. It has copy code, right? So what I did was I copied the entire code and I followed instruction. Yeah, pretty much and you see, like, ensure the flower is found at the flower level. This 0.5, this number was a little too high. So when I was using this number, it's kind of start from in the middle of air and start dropping down. So I changed this number to even smaller, and it grew perfectly. So sometimes, yeah, need to put into Unity and debug a couple of times to make sure that this is something that you are looking for. And then I kind of want to start figuring out the graph and also the increasing number on the inventory. So I kind of start describing things. I mean, and I think for using ChatGPT to code, we need to be really, really specific and just put as much information as you need, and then it will come up with something and explain something to you, very customized. If the question is too generic, it will come up with something really generic and probably couldn't really use. So I just write that, yeah, something that probably there are some previous things that I wrote, and then you can keep on the same thread and keep telling them that, oh, by doing this, right, I couldn't achieve some certain gesture or certain goal. And please give me more codes or modifier so I can get the desired function that I want. So you see, it will kind of catch up from the previous conversation and then start, you see, like it adds up like, oh, this is on collision enter. But the interesting thing is that the distant grabbable, it's all trigger. All the collider were trigger based. So instead of on collision enter, you need to change to on trigger enter. That's what we figure it out, because sometimes ChatGPT doesn't really know exactly what's the setting of each script of the complicate. I wish, later on, if somebody can invent and upload or syncing your Unity, right? Like online syncing and then ask questions. I think that might be better because ChatGPT doesn't know my settings. All my hands are triggered, so there's won't be any collider enter, right? So um trigger enter might be better than a collider enter. So those part, I think if later on if ChatGPT or there's like Unity GPT something, if we can collaborate with AI on the cloud and AI can receive the entire project and we can just ask and they just kind of generative AI. We just say it, we just type it, and it will start, modify it directly in the complicated tools. So yeah, probably pretty soon. So uh, even though it kind of tell you and give you more information, but you still need to put in Unity and start debugging it. Yeah, but it I I feel like it reduced a lot of time that I have to look up YouTube channel and the documentary, and it just lay out a very simple script. We still need to learn, or if you are a beginner, still need to learn some C sharp, but all those knowledge will allow you to uh, read or understand the script and also how to customize script. And what I've learned about ChatGPT in coding is that it will generate a basic code structure and it will give you debugging suggestions. And also it can catch up the previous conversation so you can keep adding things on the previous script or modify. But it cannot 100% write the first time. You need to keep putting code to the script or keep modifying. Okay, so those are the resource. Yeah, I will share the resource on the chat so you can take a look. I would recommend go to Code Academy and kind of subscribe, I don't know, 1 month, and then knock it out C# course. And then you will have a basic understanding about what's going on with C#, right? And yeah, or you can go online. There are a lot of free resources out there. And 3D Flowers is the one that I find is very good. Yeah, can share with you some code that I did on ChatGPT. So you see, I start asking some questions. You are an expert, code inventory for some begin flower, from 0 to 1, right? I wrote like the entire thing. And at the beginning, it kind of mess up and thought it was a 2D game. So it had Collider 2D. But I was like, no, it's 3D, right? So yeah. So the game is in a VR game, C# separately, and da, 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 da. So it start before I just want ChatGPT to create something, and then it kind of do the pseudocode for me, just write the human language, but I want it to write C#, right? And then very specific, I want 2 scripts, right? So it start writing things for me. And then, yeah, so you see the C#, well, now working together. Yeah, so interesting thing is that sometimes you need to give them like more specific instruction. See on trigger enter, right? So yeah, so we need to start kind of like telling them more and more, and you will start revising it. And later on, something can be, I would say, around 80% done, but we need to put in. And if you find out there are some errors on console, you can pretty much just copy and paste the console and ask, how can I debug it? And it will tell you how to debug it. So it's very easy to use. It's very handy. and it saved a lot of time for me to just watch YouTube channel and figure out the code on my own. I just keep telling ChatGPT to change, and it will change for me. And I will ask, you see, even though it's just like a 2 or 3 script, but it just by learning all this, you see, invoke repeating. Yeah, something that I didn't even know, and ChatGPT just tell you exactly what to do. I had a lot of it just to ask ChatGPT to revise the code. Yeah, and another link is share with you. Another link is this one. Yeah, it's called Project Flower Bed, a web XR case study. This was released February 23rd, which was kind of a few days ago, yesterday, actually. And then, yeah, I really like the entire game. It's just perfect for our setting. It's a little bit different, but it has the part that I really need. And I'm really happy it's an open source, and pretty much there's a GitHub link and I can pretty much download it and jump in. Yeah, and yeah, it was built on JS. Okay, so it's built on WebXR. Yeah, so it's a interesting things that I can just take a look and learn how I can integrate it. So maybe the entire game can be, WebXR. I don't know. There will be a lot of interesting stuff that I can learn and I can implement. So yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, the other one is Code Academy. If you want to kind of knock it out, go here. There are a bunch of things. I use Code Academy to learn Python. It's amazing that within probably around 2 to 3 weeks, I knocked the entire program out. And yeah, now I was able to read some Python, even though, I'm not the master that I can code a lot, but if I asked ChatGPT to code something or reference something, I was able to kind of revise something and make it kind of work. Yeah, and keep asking AI to revise the code for you. The other one is this flower. The interesting thing about the framework for the um, the um, the previous distant grabbable or distant grab that framework thing, if you want to swap a 3D object, you need to unwrap the texture. So this is the only flower that the texture is one JPEG or PNG file, and you need to use the customized shader that the framework provides. So this one works perfect. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much covered the entire concept part. Then I will jump to the other PC and then show you how everything works. So let me go to another PC. Hello, hello. Okay, now I'm in PC. So, eh, yeah, yeah, now I'm in PC. So, I need to.
Silent fighting is where something happened and you guys just went ice cold quiet, but it's like you can feel the tension a little bit more than if someone was to verbally say what they want to say and give you a chance to say what you want to say, even if it gets a little bit rowdy, you at least know what
Okay,
the other person
so
is
you can
expecting.
see my screen. And what I'm going to do is to work on some, yeah, so you can take a look. This is something that I test, the test build. So if I wear Oculus Quest, maybe I can open this camera so you can see. Okay, so I'll use the Quest camera. Doing this one. Oh, okay. So pretty much you can see my entire scene inside VR while I'm using this. So, oh, so you can see that I put the UI, and I would say it's a little too small, but you can kind of get into VR and take a look at what's the size of it, kind of play around with it. It's very interesting. And then, yeah, you can see flowers pretty much around it and start, slowly growing. Yeah, I really like the open source uh, projects. That one is really, really cool. So if you see this, cool. So you can see that pretty, pretty good. Cool. So you can pretty much do the locomotion and, ooh. Now I collect 27 flowers. 28, 20. Yeah, cool. So pretty much just doing all this. Okay, cool. Yeah, and this is the UI. I think it's a little too small. Maybe later on we can increase the size, but I will do some simple demo walkthrough, tell you how I made this. Okay, let's get back. Okay, so there's only one camera. So what I'm going to do is to let's create another scene. Let's create another scene. A demo. Oh, yeah, this one is this one. Okay, maybe I create another. Oh, use the previous one. This was the previous one, right? What I want to share with you is that how can we migrate from the last time's tutorial, last time's demo to upgrade to today's demo. Okay, so let's duplicate. Let's maybe make it 2.0 and change assets. Assets, and then maybe put it live. Okay. So for the last time tutorial, what we find out is that we can pretty much take this out. Ooh, I don't know why this one is here. Since we've already have camera, so we shouldn't have the main camera. Anyway, okay, so I think all those are good, and environment, we probably don't really need it. So take it up. We need a controller and a distance script. By the way, the controller, there are something you need to change. For example, you need to add a tag, play it, and then you also need to add tags about hands, because there are something that, for example, you make a hand, you change the tag. Because in our script, we have something related to player and hand. And also on trigger enter. So we even add some stuff that kind of make it works more tailored to the. So I would say it's a little bit upgrade from the previous one, and it was a little complicated. So I kind of like have this, and I will kind of delete this. It's pretty much very similar, but it's just something that is being updated. Okay, so let me kind of walk you through what's being updated. Okay, so first one, this one is player, right? Player. So pretty much kind of have some different tab, but you see this one. In the actual, if there's any collider, rigid body, we put it hand. We put it hand, right? Any collider, put it hand. Any collider, we put it hand. So it kind of like a try to. Later on, there are some. There's a flower. There's a flower script. The compare tag. Yeah. So we use on trigger enter, and we have like a hand. Any collider that is being labeled on trigger, it has the hand under it. So that's kind of something that we kind of change it, and also add a flowering material. Yeah, so flower count, right? Text. Later on, I will create so you can take a look. Okay, so this is something that is a little bit customized for the player control. Okay, and the rest of it is pretty much the same. Okay, let me create a floor. Plan. Maybe reset it. And then I will add a material like grass, right? And then, yeah, okay. So this is 0, right? And then what I want to do is probably increase a little bit, because when I was kind of doing some testing, the interesting thing is that I was running outside of the plane, so I was keep falling down, free fall. Yeah, I think this is kind of an annoying thing. So just increase. Maybe you can make it 5, right? Make it big so you can kind of walk around. Okay, so another thing that you can do is usually create a manager to have some script attached. Okay, so, and then all we want to do is, yeah, we can, the flower, right? I will share with you what's inside the flower. So why I create another empty object on top of why? Because the rotation. If you see this, it was being rotated from this. But if I span the chord, unless it's like it has the direction of how it wrote. But if the original, if you see this, the original one was horizontal. And then when you kind of, if you don't do a parent on top of it, it will start growing like horizontal. So it's just, so I just create another one and then make this one kind of the one that is being spun. So I have a perfect 0 out position and rotation. So that's why I did it. And then the other one is that I create a flower script and attach it. And all those scripts, there are 3 scripts that I create. One is flower, another one is flower inventory, the other one is flower spawner. Flower spawner, yeah, I mean, you can attach to here, right? And then it require a count text. Flower is the one that is just control the individual flower. And yeah, and the other one is flower spawner. I put out manager. I mean, you can put something that is forever there, right? You can put here, and it requires a flower prefetch. A spawner will be something just keep spawning randomly everywhere. So you can definitely put that. Okay, so let me share with you what's the setup. Okay, the first one, it's pretty much generated by ChatGPT with a little bit twist. Yeah. So this one is the growth rate, right? According to ChatGPT's math calculation, it seems like the number goes approximately that what I need. So yeah, we just go for it. Yeah, so you will have a game object, which is self, and whether it is grown, false. It's like we want like around 5 seconds you will grow, right? So it means that we want to know if it is finished growing, right? And it will kind of keep repeating growing. You see this invokes the math, right? It will keep doing this every second, right? It will keep doing this. Yeah, so it's like repeat rate. So yeah, so if it is growing, right? Because this is false, and if you put this, it will keep growing. If it is growing, yeah, so you see like you put this to here, it just keep repeating. And if this is growing, and this will start growing to its rate. Its rate is this one. So it will just keep growing, and until this becomes larger than 1. Wow, it just slowly increment growing, and each time, and then when it becomes true, and true false equals false, so this will prevent it grow. So you just keep growing, and every once in a while it will kind of every 1 second or every one. Yeah, so pretty much it's just like keep doing this and keep repeating. Okay, so and this function is that, for example, like if this flower is on the trigger enter, it means that if there's something that it and that inside the trigger, and it's kind of like if something kind of collide, then it will kind of destroy this flower. Yeah, so pretty much this one can handle the entire flower. And flower spawner is the one that will spawn flowers on the flower random, and it has interval, right? That's radius. So it's very good that it has I enumerator, and since it's forever true, and there's yeah, it will kind of wait for seconds, but it just keep doing it endless. So we have a quarantine here. So vector 3, C. So it's the position and random all. So it just kind of within radius 5, it just keep randoming adding some kind of like a smiling radius, and it just keep, randomly kind of adding up some different position. And we need to make sure that the flower is bounding at the flower level, because for ChatGPT, it wrote 0.54 and all the flowers was dropping from the sky. Yeah. And then I kind of switch to 0.01. So it's growing, looks like from the floor. And then start instantiate. So you see instantiate. Start from the prefab, position, and rotation. This one is like a 000. It's like the default position. And I think it's great I was trying to use some other ways to try to make the falling of, like the sleeping flower, make it upright growing. But I find out that if I add another parent and zero things out, and it still works. So there will be some small twist you need to twist by implement, but 80% is all done. Just something we have to jump in, twist it, which I think Code Academy, the C# course, will really help you to just understand what's going on and then read the description. And you can start customizing, twist it, play around. It should be much quicker than need to watch all the YouTube tutorials and to figure things out. And this one is the inventory. So yeah, text mesh using this. And so you need to call the library, and then you have, you make this a static. So later on you can just using this dot something or instance dot something, and you can kind of represent the script. So you can see this is like a flower count, and we have the number we want to attach. So when it was awake, we want to kind of at least, so we want to kind of reset. And then when the flower, when we find out it's keep update inventory. So if we get, let's see, so increase flower count update. Yeah, so it means that if we kind of have the flower, yeah, so actually the flower and flower inventory, those two are connected. So you see flower inventory, that instance, increment flower count. And actually those two are written by ChatGPT at the same time. So it's kind of like helping us to understand, like from this script, flower inventory, right? Flower inventory, that instance, that increment, flower count. Yeah, increment, flower count. This one, right? So yeah, so this is kind of like helping out to, this will increase and we will destroy the flower. Yeah, so update. So the test will be updated. Yeah, so once this being code, right? Once this being code, destroy this. And once this being code, this will be code after. And this code will be change the text. So flower count, this one, before it was number, and it will be string, right? And update the text. So yeah, it's very powerful. Yeah, so you can see that there are only 3 scripts. and kind of like put everything together. So those are the explanations. So I put this one on flower inventory. Actually, you can put this flower inventory to manager as well, but it's all up to you. And yeah, flower inventory, right? Yeah, it's all good. Okay, flower count test. So, oh, yeah, we'll create. Okay, so this is, I can take it out. Mhm. Oh, I need to create a UI image. Oh, okay. So yeah, at the beginning, we need to kind of adjust it to workspace. And this will be super giant. I need to make it small. Okay, and this one will be super far. So something like this. It's a good start. Ooh. It's still very big. Mhm. Okay. Mm, something like that. Make it a little smaller. Okay. Mm. Yep. Now it's kind of a little too small. It should be fine. Maybe bigger. Maybe one. Okay. So yeah, so I think this is, I mean, this is just for testing, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Then I can add Xmesh Pro. Then it was just so big. Just make it smaller, right? One. Maybe make this 0. And this is 0.5. I don't know, 1 or something. This can be this, right? Oh, okay. So maybe center. Okay, so now we got the number, right? So want to go to flower count test, just slot in, then so we got this and this one, and we also need this one synced. And this one flower prefab, we need to go to prefab and slot in. Okay. So this is the overall kind of spawning flower. Um, uh, okay, so I'm going to test it out, see hopefully things being implemented right. And if you develop on your own, let's say it might take much longer because the tutorial is kind of start doing it, everything looks really perfect, but actually it took me a long time just to debug it. Yeah, so you see the number is changing, right? So like inventory. So pretty much I use the right hand to grab. The reason why the right hand to grab, the right hand will be the one that is kind of more like an action, and the left hand is more like inventory and move around things. So you can stretch. I kind of want to have like a different direction, like from top or somewhere. So we can have like different angles. So stretch. Now it's more like on the floor, but later on we can change things. So let's see how many flowers. Oh, 19 flowers we collect. Okay, so this is the part that is flower growing. So if you're from far away, you can see the flower grow from. Yeah, there are some weird flowers that is, sleeping. Yeah, but anyway, kind of cool. Probably randomly grow, right? Pretty cool. Like an umbrella. Okay, so let me share with you how I put UI kind of on top of the controller. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Keep cloning. Okay. So first I would kind of detach everything. So okay, so this one, right? Ah, yeah. Okay, so player, hand, hand, player, hand, hand. Okay, so this is left hand. Left hand is okay. So what you can do is I did was create an yeah. You can just duplicate this one. It's just kind of like the same thing. And what I did was just slot in this here and make it 0, 0, 0. So you will kind of like as a parent of the left hand parent. So it's still too big. So I like to make it smaller, smaller. Yo. Oh, we'll make this smaller. Then I wanna. Okay, so it's kind of like this, right? And test, we don't need test. So something more like this. Okay. It's very accurate. So you probably want something like this. Something, imagine this is the controller handle. So yeah, so more like this. Okay. And then, yeah, so what I would do is put that little circle thing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so put this circle thing, slot into the source image. Ooh, wow, looks pretty cool. Save it. Let's play it. See how it looks like. Okay, so if you can see my screen, let me put that on. Oh, oh, takes some time to understand what you. Yeah. 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 Good. Okay, so right now you can see my hand, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's fine, right? Yeah, I mean, I would kind of want to make it a little far away and maybe a little tilted. Yeah, but it's a really good start, right? You can see it's like this. Let me see what you see. Yeah, something like this. I mean, it's a pretty good like a way to see whether this is a good size. And then later on, I mean, we will kind of implement some touch gesture so we can have something like this and maybe use controller to call this up and touch. I don't know. We can figure it out and maybe get some inspiration and probably possibly attach more um, um, script and then debug something will happen. So you see, like kind of pretty much grab some flowers and the inventory fills and some very cool. I really like this type of hand drawing thing because it feels very artistic. Okay, cool. So yeah, so thank you so much. This is today's tutorial and hope that you enjoy it. Okay, so I will go back. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm open to questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to just, just let me know. And yeah, this is the free time. And yeah, unmute yourself and, you know,
Very cool. How long would you say it took you total? How many hours to do the flower project in Unity?
Um, you see, last week, right? Last week was like it probably around 1 week. So you see, like last week, because every week I'm showing what I have, right? So last week was what I have
Yeah.
last week, and the start after the workshop, and I start figure things out. And I would say ChatGPT really saved me a lot of time just to code because I can just write a general idea and keep asking it and to revise it. So all the code part, the debugging does took me a long time. It took take me a long time. But for the overall structure, it's just done for me. So it's probably around a week. But after I see Meta's, that project Flower Bat, I was like, oh, mine is just like a little kid's project. So I am about to learn everything about it, and I will share with you what I've learned next workshop, which is next week. And this
So,
is kind of a hackathon for me as well.
so when you say a week, is that like 10 hours or
A week.
hours,
Mm,
40 hours?
probably not 40 hours. Probably 20.
So you spent a lot of time on it. Okay.
Mm.
And I noticed your chat GPT sessions. My guess is they were like 8 to 10 queries long. Is that correct?
You can just keep asking until you don't need it.
Yeah. But the reason why I'm asking that is I know Microsoft with Bing,
Hmm.
they were limiting their chat queries because they were afraid the
Oh,
chat bot was going to go insane. So
hmm.
they were limiting it to like 5 queries. And I think you've gone way beyond that per session.
Yeah, I didn't even know there's a limitation. I just keep asking until I feel like, okay, this is what your limitation. So
Very
that's
good.
why I was trying to maybe there's a way to um, um, do something that can just generate some code, right? And then work directly with Unity. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
Well, the reason why I asked that is because, to my knowledge, there is no limit with ChatGPT from
mm,
OpenAI. But if
mm,
you try to use the bot on on Bing, they
mm.
limit the number of queries that you can make because
Huh.
they're afraid their chatbot's going to go crazy and suggest
And
it.
we introduced Sydney.
Yeah, and leave your spouse and all this stuff.
Hmm.
That's the
What
problem
a
that they
hack.
solve.
Yeah.
She didn't seem to run into any of that.
Oh my gosh.
Um, so, do you have any idea of how many polygons you were rendering with that flower? It seemed like a fair amount.
To be honest with you, I kind of got that 3D model from Sketchfab free resource, and I have already put credit there. And then before I download a lot of flower with a lot of different materials.
Uh-huh.
That one didn't work well with the framework. The framework has a specific shader. The shader only work with the unwrapped texture. So there are a lot of things if you want to use someone else's framework, and then all the stuff you need to customize to fit their framework, or
Yeah,
you can write your own thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It looked like with the meta tool that you were showing, it looked like they were taking images from you, regular photographic images from your cell phone or whatever, and it looked like they were separating the foreground subject from the background and then inserting just the foreground subject into your project. Am I understanding that correctly?
Oh, can you say that again? Sorry, I was.
Well, they showed in that video where you had like a picture of a tree, a photograph of a tree.
You mean Meta's
Yes,
study case? Okay, okay.
yes, yes. It looked like they had a photograph of a tree that
Mm,
was imported, and then
mm,
it separated the tree itself
mm,
from the background of the photograph. Is
mm.
that what your sense is? And then they used that separated tree in the project.
Separate tree.
They segmented it.
Let's see what's this. So you mean the tree, right?
Yeah,
tree.
they had it right there. They had the photograph of the tree.
Hmm.
And
I think it's a
they,
3D though. It's all
oh,
3D.
it's all 3D. It's all 3D.
You see, they have some other tools to make some, I would say it's WebXR, right?
Okay, so that wasn't a real photograph. That was something
No.
to see. Okay.
Yeah, they build the entire world in WebXR. And the interesting thing is that it's all written in .js, right? So I don't even know, like, if I download because they have the open source, let's see, in GitHub, right? And if you see this, I don't think there's any Unity open theme here. It's probably written directly, I probably couldn't even open it. So yeah, it's just something that is very interesting. I don't even know how to open it, but I will take a look how to do things and try it and see if there's any game mechanics that I can do. Probably still use ChatGPT and trying to modify ChatGPT's code
Yeah,
and just keep asking. Yeah.
I was wondering about that. If
Hmm.
you would be able to take the scripts that are written in JavaScript, upload them into ChatGPT and ask them to convert it to a Unity ready script, and how, if something like that would work, or how close it would get to a translation.
Yeah, you see, I pointed access the dev server. I don't think you can do that since it's the different language, right? And web and yeah, so I don't really know. I need to take a look at what's going on here.
We'll know more next week.
Yeah, probably, if I couldn't figure it out, then I will just not get, do things inside VR in Unity. And this is just for inspiration.
I think an interesting thing is that this, MetaQuest Project Flowerbed thing, it's new. And my understanding is that ChatGPT was mainly trained on stuff from 2001 or 2021 and before. So because this is new, this MetaQuest thing is new, it may not be able to really intelligently converse about that.
Yeah, but maybe in the future, I believe all the languages will kind of, work well together. Right now, WebXR and the app, individual app, seems a little bit not really combined well. But I believe, I remember Meta just released an ARA engine, right? Like a platform for people, for creators, create something. I believe this, if Meta is trying to knock out both WebXR and also, the individual app, console app, then there might be a way to convert the coding from each other because it's within the same engine. So yeah, I believe it will, but not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can try ChatGPT and just say, hey, this is JS, and just make JS to C#. I don't know. You can try it, but I haven't tried it. Yeah. Cool. Michael, any questions?
Hey,
Oh,
sorry about
hey,
that.
hey, no worries.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could give us the queries that work to generate the code for the example.
Okay. Yeah, so let me share with you ChatGPT. Okay, so pretty much you probably need to start kind of asking something. You need to kind of have a scenario, for example, like you need to know what it is, right? So I just say, hey, you are the Unity game developer, right? So it knows that it needs to write in C#. But I was asking a question, but this question was not like, oh, write me a C#. So it gave me a pseudocode, just like, oh, this need to require this. And before I didn't really said that it's a VR game. So it gave me the 2D collider. So that's why I have a follow-up question. Actually, the game is a VR game. Can you put flower script and flower inventory in C# separately? So I can directly copy it and paste to Visual Studio. So I need to be so specific and it will kind of generate. So pretty much what the script that I show you, the real demo, is copy and paste and modify from this generate the answer from ChatGPT. And it took me probably less than 5 minutes to come up with this. But the debugging, it took me much longer. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I got the plugin that you said for VS Code, and this looks like
Visual
it's
Studio.
more of a copy and paste from the web browser into VS Code. Is that how? Or can you use this query directly in VS Code using the plugin?
Right now, VS Code has the plugin, but VS Code usually people use. It's easier to use Visual Studio, to the purple one to do with Unity because it has more kind of assist to kind of complete the code. So, but right now only Visual Studio Code has the extension. And if you wanna do the Visual Studio, you need to use the actual code to type on an empty area and kind of embed their API into the Visual Studio Code. And I personally think that, yeah, I don't mind just open another window and then just write something and copy and paste the code and kind of revise it. So it all depends on you. You can directly embed inside Visual Studio. I use Visual Studio. I know the demo was Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio Code is more for web, more like not really for C#. So I kind of use, I go back to use Visual Studio, and this just being the open window, and I kind of copy and paste. And I'm waiting for the extension.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that you use Visual Studio, the purple one, not the blue one, but you take what's in the blue and you move it to the purple. Is that right? Because ChatGPT can integrate into the blue one, not the purple one.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the blue one, right? The blue one, as far as I know, is more web development thing, and then the purple one is probably more Unity thing. And I think right now, Microsoft only released the blue one, and the purple one, they you need to write a hard code. I saw the instruction and something very similar to terminal. You need to, comment and do a lot of things and ask questions. And I find out that, oh, why doing that? I'm not professional developer. So I just like, okay, it's fine. No worries. I just open another window and just directly ask. Feel like it's probably easier for me as a person with visual background. So this is easier for me. And if I believe pretty soon they will have a plugin extension on Visual Studio, and later on we can just using the visual way to implement it. Yeah. So yeah, I know I'm doing the separate.
Last week, I still haven't really messed around with the blue one. I know they're really similar, but I have to move past I'm used to the purple one, and I need to.
I mean, yeah, I am doing the purple one as well. And the purple one has a lot of things. For example, you can go back to see the original script. So which is much easier. And the blue one doesn't have a lot of functions. So I migrate, I go back to the purple one. So I can, sometimes I don't know where does this function came from. Where does this function inherited from which script? So use the purple one, I can go back to see what's going on.
Yeah, so I can speak to some of this. So at least on a Mac, Visual Studio is harder to use unless you're starting your project from the very beginning with Visual Studio. And that's because Visual Studio insists on creating everything from the beginning, including the directories and all the, the source code management stuff. But with Visual Studio Code, you can jump into an existing, let's say, React project or C# project and, start using it. It doesn't insist on, setting up the project to begin with. So it's more like an editor than a whole studio, I guess you could say, which, it's obvious the difference when they put the word studio in. The other thing is that the ChatGPT plugin that you asked us to get, Dom, that one goes into Visual Studio Code, and it has a lot of setup that you have to do in order to get it to work. And I wasn't able to catch up with you guys because I missed last week. So I was frantically, trying to do all this stuff to get ready for this meeting, and it took me the whole time, and I'm still not done. So I apologize. But I can tell you that it looks like you have to essentially use the server, the ChatGPT server.
Yeah, go to OpenAI, create an account, and create your own API and plug in a lot of steps.
Yeah, exactly. So did you guys walk through all that already in a previous tutorial, like last week? Is that you showed everyone how to do all that? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I'll go back to that tutorial and get some education and catch up.
I would say that was
that explanation.
Yeah. Because to be honest with you, I am not a developer, so that's why I just do things and I fail and I try it and I come up with my own experience. But I think it's great that Michael is a professional. Actually, he owns a company which is a super cool company and has a lot of high tech. And he has a developer development and music background, so which is very cool. And thank you, Michael, to teach us or give us a summarize, like what's the difference between Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. I thought it's just like, oh, it's purple and blue, right? But it's more than that.
Yeah. So I do have one last question about the requirements. I wasn't able to find a desktop app for the Mac for Oculus. And it seems like that's only available for Windows. Is it possible to do this tutorial on a Mac, or do you have to have a Windows computer to really do it all?
I think, Jim, last time you mentioned that on the really new Mac, there's something called Bootstrap. There's a function that can allows Mac to run PC.
Well, I'm sure that Michael is probably aware of this, but what I'm on right now is a 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro. It's an Intel-based MacBook Pro, one of their last Intel-based MacBook Pros. Right. And so I can run Boot Camp on this. And I installed, in this case, Windows 10 into Boot Camp. So I can actually boot into Windows 10 on this machine. And it's like a Windows laptop. It's identical to a Windows laptop. It is a Windows laptop when you do that. But that's something that you can't do on the Apple Silicon-based Macs. So on the Apple Silicon-based Macs, you can run the ARM version of Windows 11 inside of Parallels. That's the only way you can basically run Windows on the Apple Silicon-based Macs. And whether you can do all this within that environment, I don't know. But you're probably familiar with a lot of those steps. Am I correct?
Yeah, sure. I've used VMware for years, and then on the Mac, and that I haven't tried Boot Camp, but I just wondered if that desktop app is. So when I opened the hub on the Mac, the MetaQuest Developer Hub, it just gives me a blank screen. There's no, it doesn't do anything. So I don't know if I've installed it wrong or if, you know, and I don't want to drag you guys through the same stuff you already did last week. So I'll figure it out, you know, as best I
Well,
can.
the video is available on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got that from Dom in the chat today, so that's great.
Uh, right now it's only PC. So if you want to live sync your Unity to your Quest Pro or 2,
Yeah.
it only allows the PC. So if you want to download the Quest app, it's only the mobile version, the mobile app, and put on the desktop. And you couldn't really do the link. Link only available on PC system. But your Mac, if your Mac is the newest Mac, it can run 2 systems, which is Mac and PC. So if you have a newest Mac, you can do the boot camp or that system.
Which are you on, a Apple Silicon Mac or an Intel based Mac?
I have the same laptop as you, and then I have a an old trash can, eight core, you know, 3 gigahertz, which is my desktop, and that has VMware on it, but I can run Boot Camp on that. I think I just haven't ever tried it.
Well, if you have the 2019 MacBook Pro, that's Intel based.
Yeah.
And you can run Boot Camp on that, no question.
Okay.
And it's pretty easy to do. There's a Boot Camp assistant. If you look in your launcher, there's one of the icons says Other, and you click on that, and inside of that is Boot Camp Assistant, and that will walk you through the process of setting up Boot Camp. Now, the one you can probably still download Windows 10. I think Windows 10 is better supported for this than Windows 11. I think you can still download Windows 10 and ISO Windows 10 from Microsoft, and you can install that into Boot Camp. Now you can run it without a key, you know, for free, and that gives you a lot of functionality of Windows. I don't know whether it's enough to do what you want to do, but if it's not enough, you can go to one of these marketplaces and buy a Windows key, a legitimate Windows key, for about $40 or something, one that can be activated online. And if you need more information about that, if you can send me a meetup message. If you're looking at the San Francisco X Reality group, I'm one of the co-organizers. You can message me as Jim F, and I'll send you whatever information you need to do that if that's the way you want to go.
Yeah, I was just trying to do this. I thought this, you know, this demo or whatever, this class was really good, and I wanted to try it. And it just seemed like I had to have Windows at some point to be able to do this class. So but yeah, thank you. I'll reach out to you and get caught up. Absolutely.
And one additional thing that you can do with the latest version of Parallels 18 Desktop Pro, is you can take that Boot Camp partition that you've set up with, which you can, you know, boot to on your 2019 MacBook Pro. You can take that Boot Camp partition, and with Parallels running within the Mac OS, you can run that Boot Camp partition also as a virtual machine within Parallels. And so you get sort of double duty out of that Boot Camp partition. And it's sort of an interesting thing. Whether you could do all this stuff within Parallels under the Mac OS, I don't know. But you should be able to do it if you boot into Boot Camp using Windows 10, because it is a Windows machine when you do that. Purely a Windows machine.
Yeah, thank you. I'll give it a shot. You know, the other thing that that I hit when I was trying to figure all this out is I got the Quest 2 a while back, before they changed over to all this the junk full of logins that they have now on Facebook, Meta, Instagram,
Yeah,
Oculus.
yeah.
And I couldn't sort it out in 2 hours. I couldn't
Right.
get a developer account on Oculus and a Oculus app login on my phone, and because it's insisting that it's after January 1st, 2023, and so now I can't do. I don't know. Anyway, you guys have all solved this, so I'll figure it out.
I have not gone through all the steps that Dominique prescribed earlier. I've been swamped lately. I haven't had time to go through all of those steps. But when it comes to setting up boot camp, I can definitely help you with that.
Dom, do you use a personal account for everything when you're doing this stuff, or do you have like a Hummingbird's Day professional company account with Meta and company account with Facebook and company account with Oculus? How do you manage all that?
I contracted with Meta for probably around 2 years. And then when I worked there, my personal account already merged to already merged to employee account. So yeah, so the interesting thing is that I was doing a lot of things. I use Hummingbird's Day to be my personal account. So I mean, I think Meta knows everything about me. So it doesn't really matter what account, they just know everything. And I have
Yeah.
all the password syncing to my personal account, like everything. They know
Yeah.
everything. So I feel like I have nothing to hide. It's just, they just
Yeah.
know everything. So
Okay.
it's probably doesn't really matter, even though now I'm not working with Meta, but I believe they have everything about me, since in metaverse, the data will be for every movement, there is a data generate. So, I mean, as long as you have an account, right, they can access to anything. So it doesn't really matter.
I,
Okay.
I have to say something about Dominique. She says that she's not a developer and all this stuff. I'm an experienced developer, and I've taken a lot of classes from Dominique. And trust me, she is a developer.
Oh, really? Every
She-
time when there's someone said that, hey, there's a developer, I don't know, like someone's looking for developer, I always feel imposter syndrome. I was like,
you are a
"Ah."
developer, and when they ask for a software engineer, you are doing everything that a software engineer does as well. So don't sell yourself short.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I will label myself as a full stack, XR, I don't know, a creator or something. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm still learning. And I find out that after this, I think this workshop is kind of forced me, kind of peer pressure for me to, at least next week, if I create an event, I didn't even know what I'm going to do, but I will force myself to squeeze something that so people won't feel like, oh, why I'm joining the event that wasting my time. So that's how I grow. Yeah.
We're all learning as fast as we can, as much as we can. Otherwise, it's like a shark that doesn't swim. They can't breathe anymore. So we're all sharks trying to breathe and trying to learn, trying to keep up as quickly as we can.
Yeah, cool. Anyone has any comments? Feel free to unmute yourself. The last, the Q&A session is pretty casual.
I do have one last thing.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I came here is because I have another sort of side gig to do a large language model for a specific application. And, I'm trying to decide if we should use OpenAI or if we should use U.com or Perplexity or one of these, different competitors, and or wait, maybe see what Lambda looks like, or whatever the Google's going to let us have. And I thought that maybe we would get into the details of ChatGPT a little more. just then I would get lucky and, you know, kind of hit two two things that I need at once, you know, to learn about it. But I'm going to try to set up, you know, my own copy here on the Mac at home, and see if you know, see if I can train it myself, you know, and just kind of go through that process of learning of how that works. So
I mean, ChatGPT, there are a lot of things that it can do. Yeah, I mean, before we had a lot of talk about ChatGPT, like in our XR weekly news. It's all on YouTube channel. We had a lot of session talking about AI. Jim, Jacqueline, Kyle, and me, four of us, always be there every Saturday morning. If you are interested, you can join. And right now, our topics is the most popular one will be the space, the Mars. Every time every time when we have something space or some cat related to pets, AI, and the video start rocking. Everybody want to see those hot topics. But anyway,
yes,
so yeah, I would say that the, the 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 AI thing definitely can reduce our time of trying to figure things out, and so we can focus on big, even bigger vision. And since it kind of reduce a lot of time, us time for design, if you know there's a new UI AI for Figma, that you just type a series of words and it will generate a UI
nice,
screen for you. Yeah, it's
nice.
called Galileo AI Design. Yeah,
Ah,
and it was
that-
amazing. And I had some students, UX students, they saw it. They say, "What's the point that they are going to take over the job? They are going to replace us." And we just graduated from boot camp, and you see like that Galileo AI pretty much, you know, can generate any UI, and
Wow,
you can edit on Figma as well. So that
wow,
one is amazing.
that's amazing.
Mm.
I'm a member of the Metaverse Forum, the Standards Forum,
Hmm.
on the you know, the oversight committee, and the network uh, exploratory group, and the privacy and security exploratory groups. And so if your viewers would be interested in learning more about the Metaverse Forum and what's happening there, I'm happy to, you know, give a talk on that or something.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, if you
Right.
are interested, let's talk. Because I mean,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I think it's really good because right now this area is growing, right? And I saw a lot of people got laid off from big tech, right? And I
Yeah.
think this is the really good time for us to stop and think about what can we do, because we have such a powerful labor slave to work for us. Then how can we, you know, use those free slaves and
Mhm.
improve ourselves and just re-innovate ourselves again? So we
Yeah.
don't, I feel like you see like there are certain patterns for layoff or recession, right? From industry revolution to computer, .com, right? And
Mm.
COVID, right? It's kind of like the world is getting more advanced, and people who like I feel like every once in a while we need to re-innovate ourselves. It's not because we are bad or something. It's just we just have to keep constantly learn things. So I think this is a good time for us to just to become a new of ourselves. So yeah, so feel please let's connect and give some talk about, I don't know, metaverse, privacy, data security. I think that's what everybody wants to know, whether
Mm.
they are safe
That would
there.
be fabulous.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of network, you know, kind of detail. I don't know, over it'll be too detailed for for a general audience, you know, but I'm really, you know, into the networking parts of the metaverse, and you know, because of my background in creating 4G and Wi-Fi in when I worked at Nokia. So and now, you know, that we have low Earth orbit satellite extraterrestrial networks, we can get around the world much faster than using the cables under the ocean. So yeah, so things are really happening there, and they've created something called LunaNet, which is the network for the moon. And I've been commenting in on that as well, which is really cool. So if you need another space topic, that one might be interesting.
Oh, that would be awesome. Every time when we talk about space, that video just becomes super popular. So we need more space. Yeah.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I predict the next trillionaire. If you wanna some trillionaire trillion business,
Wow.
it will be space mining.
Yes. Yes.
Something like that. Yeah, like
Yes.
anything like space or get out of this blue muddy lollipop like Earth. Yeah.
Well, there is a startup that's doing that, right? The space mining, asteroid mining. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is super cool. I mean,
it's
those
really
stuff.
crazy.
Yeah.
What?
But, because of these billionaires who are doing this stuff, it's making everyone feel like, wow,
There's a hope.
we can do these really crazy things. It doesn't have to be something incrementally growth wise. It can be something that, just comes out of nowhere. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
One other thing that I'm interested in fiddling with is, there's all these headsets coming out, some very expensive headsets, like from Apple for $3,000 or whatever they're going to charge. And part of that is because all the processing is in the headset. And so that's a lot of work to cram that into a headset with the battery life and the battery and all this stuff. And one of the things you can do with like a Quest 2 is on a PC anyways, you can hook a cable up and use the PC as the processor so that you can get more advanced rendering, more processing power. In fact, with my Quest 2 headset, if I use the cable for that and hook it up to my 2019 MacBook Pro, I should have more processing power than the M2 chip that's going to be used in Apple's upcoming headset. So, for that $3,000 headset, I'm just using a simple Quest 2, but getting more processing power, if I can pull that off in boot camp. So that's one of the things that I wanted to try. And I think that's an interesting way to go. And I think that Apple is thinking about a follow-on headset after their $3,000 one, a follow-on that's cheaper. Maybe that's the way to go, is to give you the nice display technology in their upcoming headset, but letting you use the Mac as the processing power so that you can get so much more processing power at a fairly low cost. So I think that's an interesting thing, an interesting route to travel that may be the way of the future for these headsets, because the cost point, $3,000, it's just getting sort of ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds like I should try that as well. I have the Quest 2 like you do, and I haven't tried. Right now it's a brick because it keeps trying to update and it won't update, but I'll figure that out. But yeah, once Wi-Fi 6 is generally available, then you won't need those cables anymore. You'll be able to use just wireless, and that'll be nice.
Yeah, hopefully they'll support that.
Yeah, they will for sure. And 6G is also really, really fast. It's going to take a while to get here, but it's much faster too. So
I had a question for Jacqueline. Jacqueline, are you still around?
Oh no, Jacqueline, I think
Oh, she
she's
left.
not.
Okay.
Yeah, she left.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody wanna unmute yourself and just, I don't know, say something? Cool. Any last minute questions or feedback you wanna give to our team? Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. And next week I will try to come up with something and hopefully can entertain everybody. Okay. So see you guys next week. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot.
thank you.